Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field report. The past 2 weeks, along with being in the fields locally, I've been on the road looking at the crops here in the Midwest. I went out to northwest Ohio last week. Due to spring rains, they're behind us in their corn maturity. A lot of that corn was planted the end of May and into June. Corn was anywhere from tasseling to 3 leaves from tasseling on August 7th. Most fields had some replant in them, and that might even be later planted yet. I saw a lot of good potential in the corn crop. Pollinating was going off without a hitch, but we did see winged aphids in just about every field that we're in, but not very much disease. Beans were potted fair with a lot more potential coming on, so if they get some sunshine out there and time, they'll make a pretty respectable crop. From there, I got into the fields in east central Iowa. They're in that Cedar Falls, Waterloo area on the 9th. Yield estimates in corn were strong. Low disease pressure, no tar spot. Only found one field that day with aphids in it, and it had already been sprayed. Saw a lot of fields pollinated almost 40 long. Again, they'll need sunshine to hold those tips, but if they do, the yields could be wild there. Most corn was in that R3 to R4.5. Saw some fields indicating they're running out of nitrogen, which will be costly at that stage. Early planted beans look strong. A little bit of SDS, saw more white mold, but you needed to be out in the field to actually see it. You couldn't see it from the truck. From there, I went up into northeast Iowa on the 10th. Things look a lot tougher up there. Most fields show tile lines. Crop over the tile line is tall. What's in between the tile lines is stunted. It looks like they need more tile. They just need it every 10 rows. Many cornfields are in that R3, R4 stage with nitrogen deficiency showing up, especially between the tile lines. That nitrogen problem, though, is tied to the growers' 4R nitrogen program, because some of those fields are rock solid green and the next one's running out of N. The N deficiencies this late in the game will be costly on those D hybrids. Those are the ones that do all the filling that we need here in the last 30 days. Some fields are dealing with corn aphids, but not near as strong as we are here locally. Soybeans look to be faring better up there, but there is white mold showing up, and they are spraying for soybean aphids in some spots. From there, I went to Dale, Indiana, and southern Indiana on the 15th. Corn there is at the R5 and looking strong, but they're fighting tar spot and southern rust. Many fields have been sprayed twice, and they're entertaining a third application. Saw heavy potted beans, some SDS. Like everywhere, though, sunshine and a little rain will bring them across the finish line with some pretty big yields. Here locally, we're seeing a lot of mixed things. More tar spot is showing up. In fields with heavy infestation, it is now in the upper part of the plant and starting to move around. The scouts in these areas need to look not only at the bottom of the plant for homegrown tar spot, you're going to start to find tar spot up higher in the plant. Most of this is west, south, and southwest of Hayworth or fields under irrigation. Many of these have been hit with a second application to try to hold off the premature death of these plants. Other areas are still clean of tar spot. As a matter of fact, they're clean of almost all other diseases as well. Now, I do expect this to change as time marches on. Making the call in that second spring gets a little tougher if corn is going to have a 3 in front of it this fall. Due to the planting date spread out, we have corn stretched out from R3.5 to R5 dent. At R5, we still got 30 days left to go. The other question is, how long will it need to stand in the field? Now, many of you guys have indicated you're going to let it dry in the field. You don't care if that takes till December. Many fields that I have been in, it looks like we're going to make it without a second fungicide application, but some of those areas with tar spot in the midway up on the plant at R4, and the plan is to dry in the field, you may need to help that out with a second fungicide pass. This week in the fields, we are seeing the aftermath of the cloudy days that we've been dealing with. Some of those fields that pollinated 40 long threw the tips off, and looks like they did it in one day. The tip loss is somewhat tied to hybrid and planting date. meaning the same hybrid blew the tip and planted earlier or later than that, the tip is still on. A week's difference in planting could make quite a bit of difference on how much tip we've lost out there. These hybrids can still respond by producing deeper kernels if they can rack up some sunshine days here towards the finish. No doubt, though, the biggest hiccup in corn yields in our area is aphids and green snap. The aphids have caused the plants to abort 1/3 to all of the ear. Green snap below the ear is a complete loss, and green snap above the ear is producing about 1/3 of an ear, which is probably going to go through the stripper plates. As you do your yield checks in these fields, start with all the non-affected ears and calculate your yield on them, then make an estimate on the poor ears and add it to your final yield. And I would probably divide those by 90, those ears that are on the affected plants. These aphid plants have uniform stalk diameters, which can be missed when you're checking your ear counts out there. Growers who disregard poor ears and calculate the yield on good ears and use uniform plants as their ear count are going to overestimate yield. I'm seeing many hybrids giving up 15 to 35 bushel to the aphids. Good news, though, on the aphid front. On Monday the 12th, it looks like Mother Nature took care of them. We're finding diseased and dead aphids everywhere. Even the guys in Ohio said all of their aphids were dead on Tuesday. This is usually what happens in heavy pressure with aphids, but I expected it to happen about 3 weeks ago. 2024 will go down as the year of corn aphids when we get out there and see the damage that they've done to some of these big yielding cornfields. The pressure is worse in some hybrids, but that doesn't mean we pull them out of the lineup because many of these are the high yielding ones. But we do need to add that fact that they are susceptible and they're going to need to be watched going forward. The ears on these plants will need to watch for harvest loss. Don't let them get through the stripper plate and get as much corn off of that aborted tip as possible. Isaac and I both spent some time this week in fields on the west side of the state that were hit by the hail, kind of a wide area over there around V13 stage. So the top of the plant looks okay, but the ear zone down is broke up pretty big. No doubt, bold L1 hybrids took it the worst, causing poor ear fill. Unfortunately, it's considered no loss when it comes to hail insurance. Not sure how we educate our crop adjusters on ear flex, but if you're in this area, I would suggest, and you got L1 hybrids planted, I would suggest that you ask the adjuster to come out and take a second look because you're going to find a lot of small ears. Seeing more SDS in the soybeans. Fields not treated with SDS, we can now see from the road if it didn't have a seed treatment on it. In a few fields, we have treated and non-treated split in the planter, and you can see that difference out in the field. I am seeing some treated beans that have more SDS than I'd like, but without a non-treated check in the field, it's hard telling if we're making a big difference or not. I see a lot of potential out there with the recent rains. All we need is sunshine for the next 30 days, and we can drive this yield home. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.